Friends, good morning. And welcome to worship here on this beautiful Sunday morning from the historic sanctuary of the Fountain Street Church in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where we welcome all, no matter where you are on your journey. You are welcome here today. My name is Nathan Dannison. I'll be presiding in worship, and I have a few brief announcements before we continue our worship experience. First, a quick bulletin correction. Our first reading this morning is going to be offered by Ruth Stein and not Angela Swan, as it says, just to get that in there. And also, I want to welcome this morning the Grand Rapids Women's Chorus, who is joining us. This amazing group rehearses here in this building during the week, and they perform all over the place, but today they're sharing their gifts with us in worship with their director, Lori Tenenhouse, and accompanists Phil Pletcher and percussionist Kevin Jones. Thank you for being here and joining us. We have, you may know, we have a few church members and community members that are assisted by service dogs. And I just want to remind folks a quick piece of etiquette. And you'll know they're service dogs because of their lovely vests and their impeccable professionalism. And they're adorable, but please remember, service dogs are working, folks, even when they look like they're just being cute. Please do not pet or talk to or feed or distract them, even with little baby voices and stuff like that. They got work to do. Following after worship today, the Fountain Club, one of the oldest organizations within this church, the historic youth group of the church. Yeah, go back to the 1930s. These kids have got to be planning their centennial celebration. The Fountain Street Youths, the Fountain Club, will have a potato bar fundraiser after church in the social hall. Worship with us, go have a potato, support the radical work that the Fountain Club is doing. And then also in the social hall, you'll see some information about a new event that's coming up called Made by You. So we're going to have a festival of Fountain Street artisans. There's just a lot of makers in this church. It's going to be, the actual fair itself is going to happen in the social hall on April 27th and May 4th, and we've got space for additional vendors. So as a reminder, 100% of those sales will go to support the church. So we are seeking artisans who are willing to donate their work as an in-kind gift to the church. The organizers are looking for folks specifically now who will be willing to donate artwork, jewelry, kitchen creations. That's me. I'm going to make some weird pickles and sell them to you guys. That's going to be fun. So needle crafts, lotions and soap, and plants, like nursery plants, like plants you can take home and grow in the ground, legal or otherwise. I'm just kidding. I made that up. That's okay. Marty's going to kill me. There's a table in the social hall after church. Go sign up. And then today, after potato time and meeting Marty and signing up for everything, later this afternoon we're hosting a benefit show here in the sanctuary, comedy show, the Misfit Variety Show. It's a benefit fundraiser. Come all the way from Brooklyn, New York. We have HBO comedian Lauren Lojaducci is going to be here. That's at 4 p.m. here today. Couple of things coming up on the horizon as well. We had a couple of awesome things fall in our lap just this past week. So this coming on Friday, April 11th, that's 2 Fridays out, we're going to be holding a lecture and a talk back here in the sanctuary with author, indigenous activist, and former independent presidential candidate, Mark Charles. So please put that on your calendar on April 11th. And then we're also delighted to be able to share that on Thursday, June 26th, we're going to be hosting the author, preacher, revivalist Nadia Bolz-Weber here for her Red State Revival Tour that's taking place across the country. These upcoming speakers will fill the room, so register in advance because they are both really good speakers. You might even call these speakers great. Almost like there's a series of them coming together or something, of great speakers. I don't know. Folks, all of these things are apples on the apple tree that grows healthier by the day. If you are here, you are welcome to share in our peace and our abundance. Peace. I will greet you with a blessing of peace, and then I will encourage you to greet one another with that holy and most powerful word of peace. Friends, may peace be with you. Wonderful. Let's greet one another with a word of peace, and then after that we'll sing a hymn.
Good morning. Would you all join with me in our first reading? This is Now by Charlotte Perkins Gilman from The Forerunner. With God, above, beneath, beside, without, within, and everywhere. Patient with nature's long delay, proud of our conscious upward swing. With motherhood at last awake, with power to do and light to see, women may now begin to make the people we are meant to be.
At this time, I want to invite all of the children of the church who are here this morning to come down front and join me. Children of every age and disposition and capacity and talent and ability, come down here and join me. If you're here, come front, and we'll have a blessing before the work of Character School commences. Okay. Hey, gang. Okay. We'll just make our way as we're able. How are you doing this morning? It's good to see you. It's Sunday again. Holy cow. It always happens. It's amazing. Sunday never doesn't come. That's what they teach us in seminary. It is always to remind us to work on our sermons. I know that you all are studying the Wheel of Time and the wheel. Okay, we're going with a wheel. That's good. That works with what I was going to show you. So you know that in this room, we've been sort of going piece by piece and examining some things, and I wonder if you see anywhere in this room a big, huge wheel. A wheel, yeah, I know you see it. You all see it every Sunday. Sometimes they don't see it. There's that one right back there, yeah. That's the big one. Yeah, and we talked about that, and you sent me up there to see what those were, and I came back and reported that those were different angels, different types of angels playing different instruments and singing. I wanted to show you another wheel, and it's directly across from that one. It's opposite that one. They kind of talk to each other. How do you see it? It's up. It's way up at the top of the Baldacchino Arch. Yes, it is the red one. And John Schweitzer has gone up there and cleaned it. It is a big red wheel up there in the middle. What do you think that means? What is it? Any ideas? Yeah? Love. Yep, that's a very good Fountain Street answer. Yes? Other ones? Yes?
Even if I'm angry, I'll still love you?
That's perfect. Excellent. We're going to go with that. And I'll probably have that written up there. That is the great orb of cosmic union. That wheel symbolizes, right, the communion of all life, the unity of all life in the cosmos. You see, and it's red, and it is a symbol of the ocularis, which shines through from the heavens to all people in all places and ages who gather in the light and glory of the Spirit. But what I need you to remember is that that wheel represents you. Whatever you bring through the doors of this place, whatever you love, however you worship, however you live in the world, that wheel was put up there for you to be able to see yourself in it. And whatever your faith is, or whatever your love is, or whatever drives you forward, that wheel is for you. And that's why they put it at the very, very top. And that's why they left it more or less blank. And so there's two big wheels, and both of them remind us that things happen in circles. Things happen in circles, right? And so this week, for our blessing, I wanted to help us all see if we could try to remember that we always get another chance. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Thank you. I was trying to get us there. I think I did it. So why don't you go ahead, and if you want to raise a hand, you can, and just repeat after me, and this will be our blessing. And then you can head off to character school. Yes, excellent. This week, we will remember that we get another chance. All right, well done. Can you all make your way, follow the banner?
I love that, Nathan. This week, we will remember that we get another chance. Thank you. I needed that. Our second reading is from Psalm 104. Bless the fount of life, O my soul.
Mother of all, my God, you are very great. You are garbed in honor and majesty, wrapped in light as a garment. You stretch out the heavens like a tent curtain.
She who lays on the waters the beams of her upper chambers, she who makes the clouds her chariot, she is the one who rides on the wings of the wind.
She is the one who makes the winds her celestial messengers, fire and flame her ministers.
She is the one who makes springs gush forth in the torrents. They flow between the hills. They give drink to every wild animal. The wild donkeys slake their thirst.
Beside the torrents, the birds of the heavens dwell. Among the branches, they give voice.
She is the one who waters the mountains from her high chambers. The earth is satisfied with the fruit of your work.
She is the one who makes grass to grow for the cattle and vegetation for human labor, to bring forth food from the earth and wine to make the human heart rejoice, with oil to make the face shine, and bread to sustain the human heart.
All of these hope in you to provide their food in due season.
You give it to them, they glean it. You open your hand, they are well satisfied.
You hide your face, they are dismayed. When you collect their breath, they die, and to the dust they return.
You send forth your spirit, they are created, and you renew the face of the earth.
Good morning. Today I wanted to talk about the importance of bread and roses, and I wrote 2 sermons and I'm unhappy with both of them, so I wrote about the history of women's suffrage at Fountain Street Church. It's a little complicated. There wasn't really a time in the life of this church or any of the churches that merged to create this church where women were not enfranchised. In the 1942 charter, women were 3 of the 7 founders of the church. So women have always had voice and vote here in this church. But it was an issue that has an important representative history here, in that the Women's Association of this church was profoundly involved in the 19th Amendment. So I encourage you to research that. But I'm just going to talk about a piece of what has been on my mind. The first time I heard the phrase bread and roses, I think I was 24 years old. And I was a young man back in those days. And I was possessed by an insatiable curiosity about the way that humans live and make community with each other, and specifically radical human communities. I lived in housing co-ops and slept on porches and in my car, and my appetite for pursuing novelty could could outpace my physical stamina, and that's how I got old. So that's, hey, now I'm old and boring. But I'm still possessed by this insatiable desire to learn about how people make intentional families and fictive kinship, these models for living together. But now I just have all of you come to my office and tell me about it. We sit on my couch. So I don't travel around so much anymore. Back in the before times, I used to go to a lot of festivals, and I am a folk musician, and I've performed at probably 50 or 60 music festivals. But I would go to something that is called the Rainbow Gatherings. Rainbow Gatherings. A few of you out there are going, I knew it. I got them figured out now. Okay, so, no. This is the commune of the Rainbow Family of Living Light. The Rainbow Gathering is this sort of a festival that takes place every year in a different national forest around the country. And it's got to happen on public land, because otherwise the government would shut it down. It's about, it's only 5,000 or 10,000 human beings who all hike deep into the woods and build a village and dwell together for about a week. It always happens around the 4th of July in a different part of the country, and there's no electricity or running water for this temporary gathering of thousands of people. And it's wild, man. You and your friends hike into the woods, and after a few miles, you see a few people here and there, and then about 100, and then a few thousand, and then you're home. All this stuff started back in 1971, and with all the other stuff that started back then. You know what I mean. I followed this stuff to gatherings in Tennessee and Georgia and in Michigan. Very few rules at these rainbow gatherings. They're not real big on rules. They have some strong discouragements, I'll say. No money. No money. No money changes hands. 1,000,000% non-commercial endeavor. It's really important that you don't bring money into the forest. Just leave it in your Subaru, okay? Yes. And of course, they have to cook food and stay warm. And there's fires, and fire has to be very carefully managed in a national forest. Thousands of people in the woods means that leave no trace requires a lot of work. Food is shared freely between people, and there's no alcohol. No alcohol. Because it's a bummer, man. You know? Though I shan't speak of other intoxicants. All right. And the humans organize themselves around kitchens. Kitchens. Dozens and dozens of kitchens are built. There's a group from Michigan I'm familiar with that makes soup. And another builds these huge pizza ovens. And the food is good. And it's mostly vegan. And all of it is spread across miles of wilderness in the remote woods. A week in the woods, eating clean, walking miles, and abstaining from alcohol. It's the only festival I used to come back from where I was healthier than when I left. It was great. And let us speak plainly, you and I. These people are hippies. But my God, are they resourceful? Tens of thousands of gallons of water are carefully pumped and moved through remote wilderness and purified. And then trails are carefully built in the woods for the festival and then carefully unbuilt afterwards, raked and sown with native plants as they depart. The U.S. Forest Service is on the record stating that these people leave the forests cleaner than when they found them. And hundreds of the most technically advanced pit latrines you've ever seen, dug to a depth of 6 feet, deployed to their purpose, and then carefully filled in, vanishing without a trace. It's unbelievable. All of this is a product of a culture of people who have been impugned for 80 years, have been labeled everything from social parasites to moochers to just lazy bums. Build this thing. And you go, and then between the bongo drums and the hacky sacks, it's just one of the most industrious things I've ever seen, right? So it happened that I met a group of wandering Christians who'd been a part of these rainbow gatherings for decades. Now, these wandering Christians made pancakes. That was their thing. Just heaps of pancakes. They had a Shrove Tuesday thing going on. Now, something that you got to know about me, and this is kind of important, is that I don't really spend a whole lot of me time hanging out with Christians. That's just not really my vibe. My Jesus stuff, which I own, and the Christianity of most Americans these days is just, we're not going to have a good time. So, at one of these rainbow gatherings, another friend of mine who's also was an anarchist and an organizer, and he knew my background, and he said, "You know, Dannison, we should go off and find those pancake Christians." And I said, "No." I said, "Doc, I'm on vacation. This is..." And he said, he's like, he said, "You hauled me to that weird Japuza thing in Chicago." He's like, "You owe me one. I want to eat pancakes with the Jesus freaks." And so with instruments in hand, because see, playing music was how we got ourselves fed and loved on at these things. And we went off to find the Bible people. And find them we did. And I'm going to be completely honest with you, they were hard to spot. Even after about spending an hour with these people, who were, as best as I can tell, about as close to a group of wandering first century Jesus followers as you're ever going to find, I couldn't distinguish them from the rest of the hippies. That stuck with me. And it happened then that when we did find them and ate their pancakes, I saw a man under a tree reading a Bible out loud. And then myself thinking of poor St. Philip and the Ethiopian eunuch, I went and sat and laid out on the grass and listened to him. And he was reading from the Psalms, and he read from the 104th Psalm, the one we just heard. God maketh springs to pour forth into the ravines, flows between the mountains. They give water to the beasts of the field. The wild donkeys quench their thirst. And I remember thinking, I probably smell like a wild donkey right now. And he read on, and God maketh grass to grow for the cattle, and plants for people to cultivate, bringing forth food from the earth, and wine that gladdens the human heart, and bread that sustains us. I must have fallen asleep, and I woke up and it was dark. I'd forgotten where I was until I smelled the pancakes. It all came back. And I sat up, and the man who'd been reading this ancient poetry, he walked up and he knelt down and he said, "Is this your violin?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Would you play music for the kitchen while they clean up everything?" And I did. I played the hymns that I could remember. I think, "Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing," and "Simple Gifts," and the church's one foundation, and the Old Hundredth, and I played this for them out in the woods. And he said, "That's wonderful work." And I said, "It's not work at all. You're doing the work, friend." And he said, "This whole forest is doing the work." I thought about hundreds of thousands of people spread out through the miles of trees in the hot Georgia night. I could see the flickering flames from these cook fires and the bobbing headlamps, other kitchens. And I said, "It is certainly alive with people." And he said, "It is alive with the Holy Spirit." I remembered my learnings from graduate school. The Holy Spirit is just a word, nothing more or less than the name for the living breath of the web of human life. And filled with this Spirit, Jesus returns from the wilderness. And filled with this same Spirit, Jesus proclaims liberation. And my new Jesus friend and I talked together as we scrubbed the pancake griddles. It was the huge, these are like paella pans that they haul into the woods. And we scrubbed and talked about beautiful things and building things together. And Sabbath and rest and everything. And I told him in what is a pretty rare expression of my faith, I said something like, I really love all this because it's like Mary and Martha. And he said, yeah, it's bread and roses. I saw enough there, enough to eat, enough for everyone, and I saw and heard beauty and creativity. Humans, these are humans who probably most of them unlikely to ever achieve worldly success, living lives of often quiet desperation and poverty, but they were returning to a place of bread and roses. The American suffragist and founding mother, one of the founding mothers of the 20th century, Helen Todd, first uttered those words in a speech she gave in 1911, fighting and fighting and fighting to restore the votes to women that had been stripped away from them in the 19th century. And Helen Todd worked as a factory inspector in Chicago in 1910. This was right around the same time the minister of this church, Alfred Wishart, was fumbling his way through the furniture strike. Helen Todd in Chicago in the factories saw countless thousands of children toiling away in the textile and steel mills and in meatpacking yards and in chemical plants. And she interviewed 800 of these children. And they answered her questions without looking up from their work. She wrote about it. I went and found her work. This is from McClure's. It's called Why Children Work, because that's what she asked them. Why are you working? And this was amazing. It will radicalize you. You have to. I made 50 copies. I put them in the back of the church. Read it. I'll put it on the internet. Their answers broke her heart. And what poured out of Helen Todd's, the spirit that poured out of her heart turned into kerosene. And her tears were like a shower of sparks, and it set her on fire. And the words that poured out of her, life's bread, which is home, shelter, security, and life's roses, music, education, nature, and books, shall be the heritage of every child that is born in this country. Because she knew what we know, that the fight for liberation is always, always, always a fight for the heritage that we will give to the children who have yet to be born. And it's bread and roses. So what is under attack? What is it that we then have to balance this thing to liberate? It is the Holy Spirit. There's a reason that they're not just attacking workers' rights and the labor unions, but they're also attacking the National Endowment for the Arts and Education. Bread and roses. Because there has to be solidarity between the two. I know this coming week there's members of this church, musicians from this church, going down to the strike at the grain mill in Augusta, Michigan, bringing them cornbread and diapers and love. Bread and roses. People are born with rights. Those rights are taken away from them. And then the fight to restore a person's inherent rights is liberation. That is what that is. And it happens in community. That's the word the psalmists use. It's the word that Jesus uses, liberation. Jesus connects the work to something he received called the Spirit of God. In the 4th chapter of the Gospel of Luke, Jesus goes away from community, away into the wilderness, and is offered power and authority by the prince of this world. The devil offers Jesus 3 kinds of individual personal power. He offers him personal security, personal celebrity, and political authority. Individual personal powers. And Jesus rejects these offers, rejects security, celebrity, political power. And then it says he returned from the wilderness, quote, filled with the power of the Spirit. And then he preaches, immediately goes into his people, his community, and preaches. Having rejected these other forms of power, he preaches in community, to community. The Spirit of the Lord is on me because the Spirit has anointed me to preach good news to the poor. The Spirit has sent me to proclaim liberty to the captives, recovery of sight to the blind, to release the oppressed, and to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. Jesus' power is not to rule, but to liberate. Not to captivate people's attention, and not to rule over them. It's at the intersection of prophecy and the application of prophecy and spirit, and it happens in community. So the thing that Jesus goes away from into the wilderness, this Holy Spirit, and then returns to, filled with, is the necessity for community. The ancients understood that we share one breath, the pneuma, the ruach. The animating force of life isn't parsed out like pieces of silver. And when you go around liberating people in community, sometimes you got to step in and stop other people from enslaving them. And you try to do that and they'll kill you, which is what they did to Jesus. Human rights are not a finite resource. They're a natural condition of life. So liberation and community means that we fight for bread and we fight for roses. And that's solidarity. It was the intersection of suffrage and labor, of enfranchisement and socialism, and between the anarchist and the collectivist, between labor unions and art councils, between different liberation movements from different communities, because they're dependent on each other. And we know they're dependent on each other because an assault on one naturally leads to an assault on the next. This is what Lutheran pastor Martin Niemöller was writing about in the poem. We learned it all in school. First, they came for the communists, and I didn't speak out because I was not a communist. And then they came for the socialists, and I didn't speak out. And then the trade unionists, and then the Jews, and then on until the final line, and they came for me. And there was no one left to speak out for me. So now then today in the news, they're stripping trans people of their rights and green card holders and naturalized citizens, and these people, but the trans people, they're losing their rights, and they'll say, well, now you've got to show a birth certificate to vote or get a passport or whatever. And then there's another class of people who realize that they thought their liberty was secure, but suddenly discovered that the last name that's printed on their passport and the last name that's printed on their birth certificate, they don't match. Because for generations in this country, American women have gotten married and marched off to the Social Security office and changed their last name. And so women who maybe didn't give a thought to trans rights suddenly say, hang on a second, I think this affects me. I think you're going to strip away the rights from trans people, but see here, this is going to take away my rights too. And that's how it works. That's how it works. When I organized against the neo-Nazis in Kalamazoo, I became the focus of their ire. And the Proud Boys put my name on their stupid little website, and they listed my home address and my cell phone and everything else. I got the opportunity to talk to these people. And once in a while, I'd answer my phone, and they'd tell me all of the lovely things that they had to share, and I'd let them catch their breath. And I'd ask them what they want. What do they want from me? I'd ask them what they really want. Me on one end of the phone, a father. And on the broken end of the phone, a desperate, violent little boy on the other end of that phone. And if they ever had a moment of sanity, in the dozens of times I talked to them, these boys would all ask me the same question, the same thing. Why are you on their side? You're supposed to be on our side. You're supposed to be one of us. So I'm a white, cisgender, married father, a landowner, all the way back to the beginning of this project. I have the right to vote or go to war against the king or levy a tax for a militia or whatever. When they come for trans and those sick white boys on the other end of that phone, is that I am not and will never be on their side because I am in community and because the Spirit is on me. If human rights are being persecuted or diminished or stripped away, to paraphrase Eugene Debs, if there's a lower class, we have to be of it. If there is a hated demographic, we have to be in it. If they are writing a list of people to arrest and deport, we have to be on it. And if they are choosing which minority to persecute and harass, we have to be in it. No distinctions, which is bread and roses. In this very place, in this room, about a month ago, a thing happened. It was an error on my part, really. We'd scheduled a political rally to go ahead in the social hall. It's on the news. And then this was February 1st. And on the same day, at the same time, we had St. Olaf's Choir performing in here, singing their blessed hearts out to a packed crowd. Double booked the house. What a mess. Nearly gave our poor AV staff a heart attack, I think. All the staff ran back and forth because it was packed. We had to run through the hallways in the basement up here and stuff, making sure that we could somehow balance a few thousand radical protesters over there and about 1,000 or so concert attendees on both sides of the building. And I ran upstairs at one point to the tower room just to check on something, and there in that small hallway, it connects the two halves of the building, I heard a miracle. I heard the unmistakable sound of one of the finest a cappella choirs on the face of the planet. 70 voices singing the exaltation of Christ, set to the unmistakable sound of bullhorns and marching drums. Bread and roses. Mary and Martha. We must have both, and we must fight for both. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're going to do. That's what we continue to do. That's what you've been doing for nearly 2 centuries. And that's how we grow and find our place in this current crisis. We build solidarity. And some of us will be baking bread, and some of us will be tending roses. But by God, when they come for one, they come for the next. And so we must forge solidarity like ties of spiritual iron that bind heart to heart and spirit to spirit. But it's a choice that we can make to say, we will not give an inch, not an inch, not an inch. And so we refuse to allow a single stumbling step backwards, not one step backwards. We are in the Spirit, and we are one in the Spirit, and the Spirit is alive. Bread and roses and solidarity forever. Amen. At this time, I'm going to invite the ushers to receive an offering. Friends, everything that you give to this offering plate at Fountain Street Church goes to the work of community justice here in the city of Grand Rapids, supporting our social action committee and our benevolence work and the work that we do with our partner organizations. That's what the plate is for here. So give in confidence, knowing that it is all going to the work of the good. And thank you. At this time, I invite the ushers to come forward to receive the offering. These seeds we sow into good earth. May they blossom and flourish. May they be bread and roses for the generations to come. So may it be. Let us sing together one more hymn together, number 109, Bread and Roses. Go forth in good courage to serve and to love. Bread and roses and solidarity forever. Amen.
to church, tear us in two. Dress up the devil in